A little girl sitting in the middle of a hammock with an open jar in her left hand. A cat is leaning on her right ankle and she has a slight smile on her face. I always look forward to weekends. That is when my mom will take me to Auntie Jenny's. My aunt was a very elegant lady. I really admired her. She was obviously better off financially than my mom, who was a single parent. Jenny had no children, but she would always she was always very fond of me and always told my mother that should she die or become ill, she would take very good care of me. I packed my little pink canvas bag and put my pink flowered slippers in the corner of my bedroom the Friday night before I went to bed and anxiously awaited the next day. I awoke very early the Saturday morning and made sure that I helped my mom with her indoor chores and did not do anything to upset her. After we had completed our chores, we set out on our journey to Auntie Jenny's house in the quiet and middle-class neighborhood of Merlin Avenue. As we entered the big white gate and strolled down the long concrete driveway, I saw my aunt standing at the door with her hair neatly fixed in small sponge rollers, and an anxious and welcoming smile was on her face. Her smile was so warm that it seemed as though it lifted my body, and I ran directly into her outstretched arms. "Good morning, Rose," she exclaimed, and whisked me off my feet. My mom had only reached 3/4 of the driveway by now. My aunt kept a very modest and simple home. Although it was not elaborate with lots of unnecessary furniture and fixtures, the few that she possessed were of great value and truly reflected her unique and exquisite taste. Unlike my mom's house, my aunt's living room displayed many expensive pieces of art created by foreign artists, and chandeliers hung from the ceilings of the warm and well-arranged rooms of her home. Outdoors was comparably beautiful, and much of her personality was reflected there. I favored the ambience of the outdoors most because this is where I had more fun. I could run around and pick the flowers and chase the cats who were very accustomed to me by now. I loved to play with their soft fur and feel their wet noses against my skin. There was nothing I treasured more while staying at my aunt's than climbing into the gray and brown knitted hammock and stretching my full length body out and looking up at the gigantic trees that surrounded the open patio and swinging slowly and dreaming about some childhood fantasy like going to Disney World or surrounding myself or swimming in a pool of candy. One Saturday afternoon, I sat in the hammock and looked down at the beautiful red hibiscus. Ginger the cat walked over to me and brushed his soft furry coat against my ankle. He looked up at me and purred as if he was begging for some of my sweets that I had been eating from my favorite jar. I threw some on the ground for him. I looked up at him and thought to myself how lucky he was to have a home and surroundings like these all year long. That is when I decided to ask my aunt to seek permission from my mother to allow me to come and live with her. A little girl sitting in the middle of a hammock with an open jar in her left hand. A cat is leaning on her right ankle and she has a slight smile on her face.